Yep, the prettiest Mercedes ever made, and also the best car ever made, if you want to believe Mercedes themselves when it comes to the S-Class. This is the top of the line, upper echelon S-Class that you can buy. It is the S65 AMG, and I have been fortunate enough to own this car now for exactly 1 year when I'm filming this video. So in today's upload, we're gonna do an owner's review and see what it's been like for the first year of ownership of this S65 AMG. What are the pros, what are the cons of owning a twin turbo V12 Mercedes? Now, if you follow my channel, you already know how much I love this car. You already know quite a lot about this car, but if it's your first time watching a video on this channel, today's upload is going to be what it's been like to have an S65 AMG for exactly 1 year. A car that Mercedes does not make anymore. They don't make cars with V12s unless you're buying the extremely rare S680 Maybach. And I've said it before, you're not even supposed to be driving that car. That's something you get driven in. This is ultra luxury from Mercedes with a twin turbo V12 under the hood. But you know, first thing is first, in regards to what it's been like for a year to have this car, every time I walk out and see it in the garage or sitting outside or whatever, it is just so damn good looking. Is this not one of the best looking coupes ever made? It is definitely the best looking coupe that Mercedes ever made, and mainly because of this here. It has no B-pillar. I mean, how sexy is this? It just looks so damn good. Originally the car was in a silver color. The red color that you're seeing now is not paint, it is a wrap done by my friends at Blackout Tinting. The wrap is from Inositech. It is called Metallic Vampire Red, if I remember correctly, and it just makes the whole car pop. Damn, it looks good. So under the hood, we have a 6-liter twin turbo V12. This thing in stock format produces 621 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. That's 1,000 Newton meters for Canadians and Europeans out there. Now, we have tuned it. So crank-wise, it's putting out around 700 horsepower because it does have a full straight pipe exhaust from FI as well, which we will listen to here shortly. Now, the cool thing about this car and this engine is that you might have heard of a Pagani Huayra. A Pagani Huayra has a very similar engine to this. They're pretty much almost the same. The Huayra also has a 6-liter twin turbo V12, and it is an AMG engine. It is called the M158. It produces more power and torque, so they are pretty much the same engine. Now, what makes this car so special, at least to me, is that we all know that the automotive industry is changing drastically. Everything is going hybrid or EV. And like I said earlier, they don't make cars like this anymore, which is why I feel like I want to hold on to this car as long as I can, because it is kind of part of automotive history. Unless something, you know, miraculously changes in the future, which, you know, I don't see happening at all, we won't see Mercedes making cars with V12s anymore. So this is kind of like a unicorn now, and I love it. And when we wrapped the car, we also upgraded the grille. This grille was introduced for the S-Class in 2018. Mine is a 2016, but it is an easy aftermarket upgrade, if you will. Originally, when I bought the car, it had the standard grille. It also looked very bad in the front because the idiots who had owned it before were drilling into the bumper for New York front plates and so on. So the wrap actually cleaned up the front end of the car along with the Panamericana grille. And just look at this car from the rear. I mean, it's just so good looking from every angle. And you might notice this, the S in the S65 badging here fell off. I was actually fiddling with this here earlier when I was filming, so I just ended up ripping it off before I get a million comments about, oh, the S is not there. Now, while it is an S-Class, and obviously the S-Class is the flagship of Mercedes, it's like their biggest sedan that you can get if you get it in sedan format. This is the coupe format, as we all can see. One thing that I did not like about this car is that the trunk space sucks. And again, I know it's a coupe, but it's an S-Class coupe, and you can hardly fit a golf bag in here. So it's not all peaches and rainbow in S65 world. But you know, who cares about the trunk? That's really minuscule stuff when we're talking about an S65 AMG. One thing that is absolutely amazing about this car is that it sounds like no other V12 on the planet, except for maybe a Pagani Huayra. It has a very distinctive V12 sound, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a full exhaust from FI with valves, so you can have it on and off, which we will demonstrate now. Yeah, this car sounds so good. It looks so good outside and inside. This is the reason why I bought this specific S65 AMG. I wanted one with the Bengal red leather freaking planes, man. I also wanted the carbon fiber in the door and all through the dash. So we got carbon fiber on the passenger side there. We upgraded the steering wheel from my buddy CKM Car Design, so it matches with the red stitching to the interior. And this interior is my favorite Mercedes interior out of all interiors ever, even the newer models. One thing that I definitely did not want was like plain black leather interior and the wood grain instead of the carbon, because then the car, in my opinion, just looks like an old man S-Class. And I don't like that styling at all. And it's pretty hard to find an S65 with this interior. I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3 on the internet, and I was lucky enough to find one. At the time, it was the lowest mileage one I could find as well. It was 35,900 when I bought it exactly a year ago. So we put almost 12,000 miles on the car, 47,080 currently. So when I bought the car, it was obviously just recently serviced. They put new rotors and pads up front. They did the oil change and everything that you needed to do before I took delivery. Since then, I've done one service, and that cost me $1,700. Granted, an extra key was included in that price, and that was $600 alone. So around $1,100 for a service, which included alignment, oil change, and a couple other things that I can't even remember. But yeah, it is pretty pricey to own a car like this out of warranty. You don't have a service plan, and you got to pay out of pocket. With that being said though, I've had 0 problems while owning this for 1 year. And what you just heard there, the ignition sound, is one of my favorite parts of this car. We gotta turn it off again. We gotta turn off the dog pound as well. This thing sounds like an Aventador when it starts up, and it's so awesome. If you guys saw my previous video on this car where you know, I did basically 6 things that I love about it, that was one of them, and it just sounds so good. Now, one thing that I don't like, and hopefully this comes out on camera, otherwise I'll have to insert another clip, is that because I guess the windows are so tinted, they were when I bought the car, and that is the way that I prefer it. You see the reflection of this vent in the side view mirror, which is very distracting. You also see that over there on the passenger side. So that is one of the things that, you know, I don't like. But again, it's pretty minuscule when you sum it up to the whole experience of owning this car, which is absolutely amazing. And being an S-Class, even though it has a few years on it now, it's 8 years old, my specific car, it has every feature that you can think of. Obviously a 360 camera, we have an amazing head-up display, we have night vision if you need that at night. It has massaging seats, even though they kind of suck. That's another thing that I complain about. It has heated, cooled seats, obviously. The cooled seats suck as well, but I feel like that's across the board for German cars. Their ventilated seats are awful. It's the same in my RS7, they suck. In the F-150s that I've had, the Raptors and so on, they're great. So I don't understand why they don't make the ventilated seats better, especially on a day like this where it's hot outside. I'm gonna use this little button right here. Pushes out the seat belt. With all that being said though, it's still an S-Class, so it's extremely comfortable in here. And it has the magic sky view that I always keep on. I can click this button right here and the window is not blue anymore. Click it again. But the main thing about this car is obviously driving it. It is a V12. And one more thing that I'm going to mention that I don't like about this car is the transmission that is obviously mated to the V12. Because of all the torque that this car has, they had to use an older transmission, which is, it's a 7-speed, and it is just kind of clunky. It really is. It's definitely not a dual clutch, although we have, you know, paddle shifters right here. What are you going to do, I guess? We're going to take it out on the road here. We have 3 different drive modes. So it's currently in comfort. You see that green little C right there. I usually drive the car in sport. You also have manual mode, but we're going to keep it in sport. And then it has different suspension settings as well. It has something called magic ride control. I think, I forget, I'll put something up here if I'm saying this wrong, which is absolutely amazing. So it sits a bunch of like radars and stuff that scans the road. So this thing will, if you're taking them at the correct speed, of course, float over speed bumps. It is absolutely amazing because the car and its suspension reads the road, and if it sees the speed bump, it adjusts the suspension so you basically float right over it. I don't know how they do it. I'm not some engineer or anything, but it is badass. Let's take it out on the road. So originally this car was stickered at $250,000 in 2016. I bought it for $81,000 last year in 2023. So, you know, thanks to the law of depreciation, I saved a lot of money. But you can really tell that this is a car that demands a high price tag because it has everything. I've said it in millions of videos before, so if you watch a lot of my videos, you're gonna feel like this is repetitive, but an AMG product is the full package because you get everything. You get looks, you get sound, you get performance, you get comfort, you get luxury, you get wow factor. I mean, everything. Space. There's nothing that this car doesn't have. And if you compare it to other cars that cost $250,000, like a supercar, for instance, you get wow factor, you get sound and performance, and you know the looks and all that stuff, but you won't really have the comfort. You won't have the practicality. I mean, most of them have like a frunk with hardly any luggage space whatsoever. Some of them don't even have cup holders. So, you know, and I'm not saying that this is a supercar. You can't compare it to that. But for a car of the price and a car that has a V12, I mean, it's like the best package. The only thing that can somewhat compare to this is maybe like a Bentley Continental, or I don't know, like a Rolls-Royce or something like that. But they're not as performance inspired as this car. This is an AMG product. An AMG is all about performance. The one thing you might hear is that it has active bolsters. So it'll squeeze the bolsters when you're turning so you stay in your seat, and sometimes that can make a little squeaky noise. And you know, it has a V12. It has a lot of power, a lot of torque, but the power delivery is so different from any other V12 that I've ever driven, or any other car that I've ever driven, really. It is such linear power, and it's like a sophisticated power. It's not super, you know, emotional in here. It doesn't like scream, and you know, it doesn't do all these crazy things because it's still an S-Class. It's not supposed to do all those things. But, you know, I mean, I live in the United States. I live in Pennsylvania. I don't think I've ever had this car quicker than, I don't know, maybe like 130, 140 or whatever. This car comes into its prime after 100 miles an hour. So it is, you know, an Autobahn cruiser, an Autobahn missile. That's what it's made for. It kind of wants you to go almost 200 miles an hour, have the massaging seats on, and just like float on the road. The traction control lights just blink, blink. Oh, it pulls so hard, and it just keeps going. It's almost like it kicks in more torque after 100 miles an hour. I'm not saying where we're going at 100 miles an hour, but it is a very interesting power delivery curve that this car has. It is so damn quick. So we're gonna put the suspension in AMG ride control curve, because this is a pretty cool feature. The S-Class is obviously, as we know, a big, heavy car. It's definitely not, you know, a track car in any way. It's not really meant to take corners, but when you use this, oh, you feel it. Basically what it does is, if you're making a left turn or a right turn, it stiffens the suspension on that side, and it's supposed to eliminate body roll, and it does a pretty freaking good job at doing it. Some tight curves here. Oh yeah, I mean, it's still a heavy car, but you notice a big difference. So yeah, we're gonna put it back in sport, and we're in an area of Pittsburgh where police definitely don't play, because there is a lot of money up here. But my point with that whole thing is that it's just such a joy to drive this thing. It really is the best of both worlds. It's quick as hell, it's comfortable as hell, it can even almost take corners really good. It has a V12, it sounds amazing. It's just such an awesome car, man. So good. Listen to these downshifts. So since the automotive industry pretty much sucks right now, and you can't buy a car like this anymore, unless it's used, of course, it makes it even more special to have an S65 AMG, and I enjoy it every day. It's been nothing but good to me since I bought it. No major problems, anything like that. We had some odd tire wear on the inside of the rear tires because I lowered it and stuff, and we figured that out with the toe and alignment and all that stuff. But that's not really the car's fault, more my fault. But owning this car has, and still is, absolutely amazing. And I hope I can keep it forever. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any additional questions, leave them there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.